More breaking news into CBS Sports HQ. WrestleMania 36 has been canceled in its current form. The event was scheduled to take place on April 5th in Tampa Bay, but will be moved to a closed set at the WWE's training facility due to local government's instructions regarding the coronavirus. The organization issued a statement reading, "In coordination with local partners and government officials, WrestleMania and all related events in Tampa Bay will not take place. However, WrestleMania will stream live on Sunday, April 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on WWE Network and will be available on pay-per-view. Only essential personnel will be on the closed set at WWE's training facility in Orlando, Florida to produce WrestleMania." We now welcome in our combat sports expert, Brian Campbell. BC, when you take a look at this news and your initial reaction to it, what comes to mind? It seemed like the inevitable, but the news that does come down here on Monday evening.
You know, it certainly seemed like the inevitable, Joe, that this card would not go on as planned inside a 75,000-seat stadium in Tampa, Florida. What's surprising for people that know Vince McMahon, WWE chairman, and know this company is that the card will go on under the settings that WWE is doing it, which is inside a very tiny performance center in Orlando, Florida, the same building that WWE ran Friday's SmackDown episode and will also be running this evening's episode of Raw. You look back on what we saw and felt on Friday night, it was what you could imagine from an empty arena. There was a very large disconnect, and while that may be okay from a week-to-week standpoint of a weekly television show to sort of connect the dots and keep the players on the field, so to speak, in this sports entertainment field for WWE, moving the grandest show of all, as they like to call it, to an empty arena is just unprecedented on so many levels, and certainly on par for what we've seen, how the sports world has reacted to the outbreak of the coronavirus. To give you a little bit of history here, WWE's WrestleMania hasn't been in a traditional sized arena since 2006, when it was inside Chicago's Allstate Arena for WrestleMania 22. Each year since then, we've seen it in very large football stadiums or domes. Each and every year, an event that has lasted upwards of 7 and 8 hours in recent years. It will be very, very interesting to see how WWE can pull out the bells and whistles inside what is essentially an empty warehouse to pull this card off.
Yeah, Brian. So for now, the show will go on, if you will. But how about the financial impact in terms of the bottom line, how this impacts the sport?
You know, this is why it's most surprising. It's not surprising, let me be upfront, that the show must go on. This is a long-held tradition of Vince McMahon, WWE chairman, going back many years, including infamous times when performers have died on the scene during a pay-per-view. The show still went on. We've seen that before, but to see this not rescheduled to a potential later date, maybe a month or two down the road, when there's a chance you can put spectators into a stadium and have the type of wraparound weekend that WWE has created each year for WrestleMania, which not only brings in an incredible amount of financial prospects for the company itself, but for the host city, because you consider WWE has events basically going from Wednesday through Tuesday of the following week. It's not just WrestleMania. There's an NXT TakeOver pay-per-view type card. There's the WWE Hall of Fame. There's the daily WWE Fan Access. There's live episodes of Raw and SmackDown. It's 2 weekly programs. To see them essentially cancel that, which they are doing because of the local, state, and government rulings banning large gatherings, to see them sort of punt on that potential for that payday just to keep the wheels going and to entertain fans, it is very surprising. One thing WWE has attempted to hammer home in the past week since all of this went down is that they've been there consistently week after week for fans from an entertainment standpoint, and that's something they're not willing to stop. With that said, they have a very uphill battle from an entertainment standpoint, something we're not so worried about in this moment in light of the real-life news, to create an atmosphere that lives up to what they have accomplished in making WrestleMania a 36-year annual vehicle, which is very much the Super Bowl in sports entertainment.
Now, I want to keep you right there because fans did get a look at how hollow it could feel or how odd it would be departing from the norm, how that product came out a week ago or last week. How can they make WrestleMania feel big? Because it is, as you said, the biggest of them all. How do they inject some of that much-needed life into this sort of an event?
That's the real question. What can you do differently? What is WrestleMania known for? I sort of laid it out to you. Giant open football stadiums. Imagine large pyrotechnics, fireworks when these elaborate entrances take place. Each match, there has been a storyline built together that sometimes can go upwards of a year. So when these matches are played out, there is so much pomp and circumstances, live musical acts, so many annual traditions that really cannot be contained to even a traditional NBA or NHL style arena, which is how grand this event has come. To imagine what WWE may be able to do in an area, like I mentioned, that is essentially just an empty large warehouse with rings and is a state-of-the-art training facility for WWE to train and grow the wrestlers of tomorrow, they're certainly going to be handcuffed from the type of things they can pull off to really make it feel large. Just sitting through Friday's episode of SmackDown, which in some ways can be compared to the feeling you had watching Saturday night's UFC Fight Night card in Brazil in front of an empty audience, you can feel that disconnect. Obviously, we're talking about something that's scripted. WWE is an entertainment product. They don't have to go through state commissions to pull this off, but that's not really what we're debating here. Can WrestleMania 36 even remotely live up to the feel and the pomp and circumstance of the past? I just don't see how they're going to pull it off. And considering WWE's storied commitment to the grandeur that they love to produce, it's very surprising that, in my opinion, that they're going this route. We haven't seen a sort of dud, sore thumb WrestleMania that sticks out. You really have to go back to the early 90s when financially WWE was facing an uphill battle at the time to really recall a card that felt so forgettable and small. I'm thinking WrestleMania 11 in 1996 inside the Hartford Civic Center, of all places. Maybe the last time this event felt like it wasn't everything WWE promotes it to be. Again, you can't count out the 73-year-old Vince McMahon, who has had an incredible career as a promoter, but this will be something if they can make this feel special.
I know for us, though, BC, it's always big when we have you on. He's Brian Campbell, and he has the insight on WrestleMania. The show must go on, if you will, just not in Tampa. Instead, in the WWE training facility in Orlando, April 5th, with no fans. Brian, we appreciate the insight.
Thank you.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.